Hei og hå, folkens, og vent natt, og velkommen tilbake til en ny video. Mitt navn Bluedude, og vi skal nå fortsette på Stanley Parable, og her så det 2, men det er jo egentlig ultra deluxe versjon av spillet. I forrige episode så havner vi i et hull. Jeg ble fascinert av det hullet, og det ble jo min ende på det, for å si sånn. Så da, etter det så blir jo jeg spawnet her. Så jeg vet jo ikke helt.
Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Ja. Så hva er det vi ikke har gjort? De har, ja, jeg har jo ikke vært her da. La oss se, vi går til den bøtten. Se hva den kan...
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind.
Ja, men hvor bøtten da?
It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms.
It's a
much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
La oss gi en omsorg, gi den bøtten en klem.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
I think that just holding it
has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person.
The
benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Det har faktisk åpnet opp døren for meg. La oss ta med bøtten og kanskje kan ha ting opp i bøtten. Muligens.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Her har jeg ikke sett det. New features, new content, new ideas, alle har vært der. Knappen med gym har jeg vært inne i. Her har vært... Så hvor kan jeg gå da, egentlig? Merch. Kan jeg ta en merch? Ta en chat? Jeg så det new content. Den her var ikke vært kul, den her t-shirten der, du. Vi må jo se litt rundt her, se hva steder jeg ikke har vært på, da. Collectibles. Jeg har jo samlet 1 av 6 på den der. That's new. Vent litt, betyr at jeg skal gå opp dit? Noe du hinter meg til? Jeg kommer ikke gjennom denne døren her. Det har jeg. Så hvor vil jeg at jeg går her? I don't know. Jeg må ta en oversikt av å se hva jeg ikke har vært på. Settings World Champion. Hvor er den? Den er der. Så hvordan kommer jeg til den? Det er opp her. Ja, her har jeg ikke vært ennå. Her har jeg ikke vært. Men den er låst. Jeg kommer ikke inn. Settings World Champion. Det betyr at jeg har egentlig vært overalt her da. Kan jeg sette bøtten på plass igjen? Nei.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name, the button says. But no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the gym button away.
Ok. Bare ta den vekk, du. Jeg kan faktisk gå ut her, og det er noe jeg ikke la merke til. Jeg tror jeg var innelåst, det er noe jeg måtte gjøre. Og det er selvfølgelig...
Have you seen everything you wanted to?
Ja.
Ready to move on now?
La oss gjøre det. La oss gå videre. Så er det faktisk mulighet at vi kan faktisk bli en video.
What do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, Let's do an experiment.
Okay.
I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay.
Hva er det gjør nå?
Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Med en bøtte i hånden.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's
Du står litt på feil side her.
Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me
Den
do a
der
different arrangement.
achievement.
Okay, yes.
Den der achievement-boksen da,
This is
hva skjer?
much better. I feel good about this.
Som
Here
jeg ikke
we
kunne...
go. Version 2.
Med en bøtte i hånden igjen.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of
No.
gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen.
Har det vært noe som kunne
title
kastet
screen
bøtten
that
på meg
says
selv
with
her?
bold and uncompromising conviction, this is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Wow, du. Underlig. La oss sjekke dette ut, da.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Men dette har jo...
Stanley worked for a company in a big building
Ballonger.
where he was employee number 427.
427, som jeg kan huske
Employee
det.
number 427's job
Det har noe
was simple. He
mening.
sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a
Ja, jeg kan egentlig bare skippe det. Det virker som det er samme, men nå ser vi ballonger her, du.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Get well someday.
Stanley decided
Ja.
to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Men nå er spørsmålet... Altså med alle ballongene, disse her tingene.
Stanley picked up
Button.
the bucket.
Ja, det er jo greit å ha med en bøtte på tur. Greit å ha en bøtte med hvis man blir syk. Men her er jo ikke denne døren her som var... Kanskje dette her er en del av...
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Nå skal være grei å følge rådene hans. Ja.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever.
Now
Perhaps
more
his
than ever.
boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Yeah. Jeg lurer på om det er noe annet dialog med han, med bøtten i
But
hånden.
Stanley, can you feel it? The
What?
broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's
Ja,
what
ja,
the
da,
broom
faktisk.
closet is
Bare lurer
trying
på om jeg
to
kan
say
provosere,
here.
men
It's
den gir meg
supposed
ikke
to go with
muligheten
the
til
other
det.
cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend.
Ja, jeg har ikke lyst til å gi meg. Jeg har ikke lyst til å gi meg fra med bøtten.
We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet...
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Stanley in the bucket. La oss gjøre det. Megabøtten på eventyr. Jeg bare ser litt rundt her hvis det er det samme tingene. Ja, det ser ut til å være det stort sett det samme virker som. Men sånn så i... Så er det sånn åpning dør her, sant? Nei, den er faktisk låst nå. Kommer jeg ikke inn der? Det var sånn heis jeg faktisk muligens kunne gå inn i, tror jeg. Som jeg ikke gir meg den muligheten til nå.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always.
Always.
The bucket would. and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
2845, yeah.
But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ooh, boy.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Yeah. Nå spørsmålet, hvor de andre? Jeg kommer ikke på navnet på det. Du kan få alt det, skulle vært
Jim. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Ja.
Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right.
Yeah.
The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Bør alle ha. Så man kan ha vann i og melk og...
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Ikke denne gangen. Denne gangen stikker vi av. Vi stikker av meg og bøtte.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Men jeg tar en sjanse her. Meg og
The
bøtte
door
stikker
behind
av.
them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Nope. Det gjør vi ikke.
At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Er det egentlig det? Ja, dette kan virke litt truende, men la oss... Sånn som jeg liker jul. Altså, tenker jeg på i forrige episode. Så bare hoppe rett inn i det. Nå er vi faktisk inne i en sånn trolle her. Jeg tror, ja, ok?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death?
This is what Stanley thought to
himself,
and
he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Kan jeg stikke av her? New!
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Skvatte litt, faktisk. Stanley Parable.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
No. Ble bøtten av? Okay. The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You are standing at the hvis du har lyst til å lese, vær så god. Men jeg må jo selvfølgelig lyst til å gå videre, så vi kan finne bøtten igjen.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Jeg vil ha bøtten min venn. Min eneste beste venn i dette spillet her. Så tar du han vekk fra meg. Se han åpner der da. Det har vært nødt til å komme opp dit på et eller annet punkt, på en måte. Men hvordan? Det er jo... Ja... Tenker vi det den veien nå, kanskje? La oss se... Men jeg ser bøtten her, faktisk. Det ser ut som bøtten har vært på en eventyr. Artig.
No man can own a bucket, And certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. The space symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance inevitably is for our own good. No, let me give me the bucket. Thank you.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Har vi bøttene forresten? Fortsatt?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bøttene fortsatt.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Jeg må bare lukke på om det var døren her var åpne for. Denne her var jo dette nye området. Nå har liksom gjort det sånn at hovedspillet selv med bøtten i hånd gjør at du kan få nye dialog og sånn. Men jeg har faktisk lyst til å bare avslutte her. Hvis du har lyst til å spille det selv, så er det jo selvfølgelig muligheten til det på Steam. Det koster noe litt penger, men det er veldig artig spill da. Men jeg skal nå ta avslutte her. Så hvis du da er inne til kanalen, må du selvfølgelig abonnere. Den må komme til å trykke på en tommel opp, så pris på. Så til neste gang, folkens, snakkes med nå. Hei ho!
Yo, listen up, here's a story about a little guy